Hi, it's me, Alisa, and I am an IFS practitioner. I also am an author, and I have a lot of experience and training in holistic and energetic modalities. So I like to bring together the energetic and the metaphysical, IFS, and creative expression to help you on your healing journey. Before I get started with today's episode, if you can hit that subscribe button, then you won't miss an episode. Today's episode, though, is about spiritual bypass versus spiritual support. I have experience with both of these, and I have parts around spiritual bypass that at first were like very almost delicate, like I have to rid the world of spiritual bypass. But it was really ridding my own system of spiritual bypass. And when I got curious and compassionate with those parts and actually grateful with them, I'm able to talk more calmly. And actually, the parts of me that didn't welcome those moved away from wanting anything to do with metaphysical for a while. And it actually locked out a big part of myself. Parts of myself that are so important. And it's actually part of the world I work in, right? I keep using the word parts as a part. Whew. So what spiritual bypass was for me was a way to avoid a lot of pain. Feelings that I didn't know how to process, particularly grief, which I'm really grateful for those parts because I was so scared of my own despair and I didn't know how to hold it. And these are really young parts. And I remember the first thing I ever learned was astrology at 13. And it actually was so fun. It was something I enjoyed. It was the first thing I enjoyed. So I'm really grateful to those parts because they brought me some joy. It was like, this is how I can make sense of people who I didn't know how to make sense of. But spiritual bypass, I wouldn't have called it that then. But it was like, wow, I can keep some order in this disordered world. And that's why it tends to be very rigid, black and white, feels like there's a lot of anxiety there. And it works for a little bit until it doesn't. And that's what happens with those parts in extreme roles. And because I can connect to it as me and be with it, I can really speak for it. These parts, they were so trying to take care of me, and the reason, I will tell people openly, I don't care for the law of attraction, but why? Because it created so much fear, and it was confusing because here you are saying you must say it like this, and you're creating all these problems by attracting into your world these things, but you're also telling me I'm not the universe. So how can I be controlling the universe but not the universe? So it was really hard to grasp that. And now you're making something that was helping me hurt me. So those were the limitations that came with this spiritual bypass. And I didn't really hear that term until I got more into IFS land and read it in a book. In No Bad Parts, actually, by Richard Schwartz. I moved away from, all the metaphysical and the spiritual. And I tell people this funny story because I'm in recovery from anorexia. That I was at the first place I went for recovery, and the lady said to me, you're very spiritual. And I laughed at her. I said, I don't think you know who you're talking to. Well, I'm sure she was right. But what I didn't know about was spiritual support. Spiritual support says we can grow and connect. It is really about connection. It's saying we're not limited in how we connect to something greater than ourselves, and there is something greater than ourselves. It's a source of comfort that, because we can hold these parts, we don't have to get lost in these parts, and we don't have to be overwhelmed by them. And those parts aren't bad, just like now. and we can still speak for them, and we don't have to push them away. There's room for all of them. And there's something bigger than us, bigger than those parts. So that is spirituality. Spirituality is the key of IFS. And that was a big deal. In fact, self-energy is part of spirituality. Metaphysical, our soul, that is a metaphysical concept. So that's why it's so important to me to bring it into this practice, into this healing journey. And you don't have to believe in any one type of spirituality. It's all welcome. So when I found that there's spiritual support, that's probably has been the most profound and important support. That's what's helped me heal the most and find the most hope. Something greater than me. You mean I don't have to hold it all? So when I work in that realm of spiritual support. Just like when I use the tools, you can use, for instance, tarot for spiritual bypass to avoid pain, to avoid looking at things, or you can use it for spiritual support. So I hope this video has brought some clarity around things, and I will be talking to you soon.